Okay, so you don't need to see my face for this video. I just want to show you a couple cool things when we're talking about plated desserts. I've shown you a few things already, but now we're in that actual week. We go and elaborate on it a little bit more. Your plates are essentially your canvas, as if for a painter, right? So having a bunch of different types, shapes, colors of plates gives you a lot more choices and options when you go to have fun with some of these different desserts, okay? And remember, you can have fun. You can essentially do anything that you want. A main item, the main component of our dish, can be a multitude of different things. Saying that a cookie couldn't be a main item, technically, if you did it in a certain specific way, it could be a main item, right? So really, how are you promoting and advertising and trying to sell your dish? What's the main item? What are the secondary components? What's the sauce? How do you bring it all together? Do they all work together, right? So I'm just gonna show you a couple of fun, cool little things today. I have my cheesecake from last week, so we're gonna play around with that a little bit, okay? Originally, let's go back. Dishes were just meant to house a dessert, serve, something that I can then hand it to somebody and they can eat it. They can grab it, they can eat it off the plate, and boom. That's what plates were typically used for, but starting to make more elaborate dishes, we as chefs are artists. We want to have more fun with our dishes and our sauces and become artists, essentially, like painters. We traded out the small plate for, let's say, something a little bit bigger. So now we have all this room to play around with, okay? So the main item there, depending on what your main item is, can you just put one item and no secondary components or a sauce? Absolutely. A piece of cheesecake kind of plain like this, would I say just like that, main item? Maybe not. Your gâteaux, your opera cakes, your tiramisu, your Napoleon, some of those more elegant, time-consuming desserts could be essentially put right on the plate just as the main item. Maybe a simple black plate, keep it nice and elegant so that it showcases that main item. However, for this, I want to go above and beyond a little bit, okay? So this being a coffee cheesecake, my components need to add to it a little bit, right? They should enhance the dish. So the first, simplest, and quickest that I always show is caramel and chocolate sauce, and we're just gonna do a drizzle. This is just chocolate ganache warmed up. And we're gonna put on a diagonal some caramel. Boom. Make sure you're always wiping your plate. All of the ingredients are supposed to stay on the inside, not on the lip. So if you get any ingredients up on the lip there, you're supposed to wipe it off very carefully, constantly keeping your plates clean, okay? No fingerprints, no smudges on the edges, and then we can go ahead and we can put our dessert, okay? Boom. And then typically what I would do is a little dollop of whipped cream. Maybe we'll put it right here. And that is an excellent looking plate. Real simple, real clean, nothing too crazy with it. Could I put the drizzle on top of the cheesecake though? Absolutely. Put the piece of the main item down, the main dessert down, and then do your drizzle. And that gives you a little bit of an added pizzazz. You can keep it kind of simple and closer to the dessert rather than going over the entire plate. Wipe that off, right? And let's try to drizzle this. I just went that way, so we're gonna go this way. Oh. And then maybe for this one, I might put the whipped cream right on top. Same design, just keeping it more concise and layering it over top of the dessert to add more of an effect. Really, really, really simple plates. Okay? Now, this cheesecake, I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of this. Oops. This piece of cheesecake is a triangle, right? Does it have to be a triangle? No. I cut this. I made it whatever shape that I wanted it, right? Triangle, circle, square. Maybe I want to change it up. The shape that you make your dessert really can change the plated presentation and change the avenues in which you can go. So we're going to change this now from a triangle to a circle. And I'm going to see what I can do with that. Put this off to the side. Good cheesecake. Pop that out. Now we're gonna try playing with it just a little bit more. So, I'm gonna change up my plate. I'm gonna go now from a small rectangle to a round plate shape with a square total shape. Change it up a little bit. So now that I've got a round dessert, where do I want to put it? Maybe I don't want to put it right in the middle though. Maybe I'll put it off center a little bit just to kind of add some nuances, make it a little bit more appeasing. For this one, once again, our flavors need to come together, right? So putting a strawberry or fruit flavor with coffee is gonna be a little interesting. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick with chocolate and caramel for right now. And I'm just gonna dress it up a little bit. And I'm gonna do my favorite swooshes. So I'm gonna put a good dollop of chocolate right here. And a good dollop of caramel right here. And then you take your spoon, keep it clean. I use a towel all the time and wipe it after every swoosh that I do. And then you are going to take it and slide that sauce across the plate. Wipe that spoon clean, then I'm gonna grab the chocolate. Wipe that sauce across the plate just like that. Wipe it off again. Check your plate if it needs to be cleaned up a little bit, like right here, I could wipe that off a little bit. I'm seeing two nice swooshes, a simple piece of cheesecake. It still seems a little simple though, right? You wanna add a different component to it. Maybe even we can add elevation. We'll put a dollop of whipped cream down here and I can sit my cheesecake on top of my whipped cream, change it up a little bit, and then add maybe some texture to it. Everything's kind of soft on the plate right now, so I want maybe some crunch. And this is a really simple kind of goofy idea, but Oreos, right? We'll just plate a couple little Oreos right there on top of my sauce. And honestly, I could be done right there. I really don't need to go too crazy with it. Keep it simple. Anytime I'm adding things like Oreos on it, right, it starts to get a little messy, right? So I don't want to go too complicated like that. And you'd be thinking of that piece of cheesecake as clean, nothing on top of it, obviously. You could add a bunch of different components to this too, though. If I want to try here, I have a white plate, so I might not see this very well. Think about your plate color at the same time, but I have coconut. Taking coconut and sprinkling over our entire plate. Might add something else to it. To me, it just makes it look messy. Plating desserts too, sometimes you gotta just play around with it. Go crazy, go wild, try a few different things, right? You see I've made my swooshes right here, but I could have done something a little bit different with the sauce. I could have pooled my sauce on the side. Oh, I saw that coming too. It's hilarious. Well, for this example, I can still use this though. What would I have to do here? Once again, probably clean my plate up. Wipe all that delicious caramel off. If I was in a restaurant, I'd just get a clean plate, but all in one take, right? Oh, come on. So essentially, I'm just trying to show you the pooled feathered sauces real quick. I can still show you it here. I'm just attempting to make a feathered design with two different sauces. So we'll put caramel down first, and then we'll put a line of chocolate, a line of chocolate, a line of chocolate. Boom. And then we are going to use my handy dandy tool, my toothpick, and we're going to feather it back and forth, essentially a lot like the Napoleon, the tops of the Napoleon. And then what you just get is a really pretty sauce design on the plate, and you can put your dessert right next to it. Nothing too crazy. Put that off to the side. When you put your sauce on a plate in large proportions like that and it starts to get bigger, that's what we call pooling our sauce on the plate. Depending on what consistency of sauce or what type of sauce you have, you might want to change that up a little bit. But let's go ahead and keep going and play with our sauces just a little bit more. So for this one, we call it the dotting technique. We're going to take the sauce and just very carefully put dots on the plate. Now this sauce is really thin, so you just have to be careful and control your sauces. But once we get those nice dotted sauces, we start pooling on the larger circles there, then we can go ahead essentially and take that same cheesecake, put it right there, and add other components around it. We saw in that one video, he was using the ring to add height. Once again, you can do that, adding other components, putting them in the ring on top of your dessert or the dessert itself, adding height, and then very gently take your ring back off. Some will fall off, but a majority of it should stay on top. So what you're doing there is you're just adding a little bit height. Obviously, you would do this before you put the sauce on the plate, right? But I just wanted to show you a little technique there with that ring, and then we'll keep on going. I'm gonna actually move this off to the side now. Put that right back in there. Change my gloves real quick. And then we can play with some of these fruit sauces a little bit. Real quick, a quenelle is something else important that you should be seeing. See how to do a quenelle. And essentially it is an oval shaped piece of ice cream put onto a plate. For this, I'm gonna use whipped cream. So essentially you would do this with ice cream. That would be a really chilled frozen dessert, and you'd be taking 2 spoons and using the clean one to scrape the ice cream off and basically reshape it into an oval like shape. Okay, so I'm gonna take this one and I'm gonna scrape it down the side right there. What you should have is a cup of water, dipping your dirty spoon in it to clean it off, and then coming back in, scooping it again, cleaning off your other spoon, getting now from the other side, scooping it that way, clean that spoon off until you get a really clean looking oval. Now that wasn't the best in the world, but it wasn't the worst either. The whipped cream is a little bit easier to practice on with the quenelle, but getting proficient with ice cream, doing nice quenelles will set your plating apart. So then, what can I do with this dessert? I'm sitting there, maybe I'll put something on the bottom of the plate. This being a black plate, Oreos aren't the best choice, right? Because I can't really see those, but for an Oreo cheesecake, using crushed up Oreos on the bottom as a base is not a terrible idea. Boom, just like that. What are some other components I could use off the top of my head? Pieces of chocolate, right? Some of those chocolate showpieces that we made, not showpieces, but we made the decor with the cocoa butter sheets. We could put some of that chocolate maybe right in the quenelle. Get it to stand up. We could use some of this dried fruit, which would be kind of interesting on an Oreo cheesecake, but why not? Put a couple pieces of dried fruit on the side of your plate. Adds a little bit of extra pizzazz, shows a proficiency in your craft. You know how to not only poach, pan sear, bake fruit, but you also know how to dehydrate it. A chocolate curl on the top maybe wouldn't be a bad idea either. I suggest if you're putting anything on top, that's when you definitely use whipped cream. And we'll put a big curl right there on top. But what starts to happen here? Do you see? Even with only a few components, strawberries, chocolate, whipped cream, and a piece of Oreo cheesecake, it becomes muddled. And I can already see right here, strawberry with Oreos, just visually looking that some of these flavors aren't going together. What you do need to worry about though is making sure that everything complements each other. So soft cheesecake, soft whipped cream, maybe a crunchy garnish. Oreos, not a bad idea, but cookie crumbs, cake crumbs, nuts, chopped nuts, dried fruit, coconut, different things like that. Go outside the box. A nice tuile on top, a fresh baked tuile would add a little bit of crunch and pizzazz to this dessert as well. Some of those candied lemon and lime zest add a little bit of crunch and sweetness to some of your desserts. If, say, your dessert isn't as sweet, to kind of offset some of that, okay? And kind of have fun with your desserts. If you have a long plate, you really shouldn't keep everything centered. You should try to have some fun with it. If I'm doing a dessert down at this end, do something different down at this end. For example, I don't have a whole lot to go off of here, but put our whipped cream down here. Trying to think of a cool example. Coconut on top. I would then maybe toast the coconut or toast the coconut beforehand. We'll add, instead of a curved swoosh, this time we'll do a straight swoosh. Because it doesn't have to be curved, it can be straight. It's almost like leading, like a runway leading to your dish. And take that chocolate, we're gonna swoosh straight down the plate. And then that's where we would put that piece of cheesecake. So have fun with the length of your plates a little bit and go crazy. And then this is really, what I'm teaching you is some simple plating techniques. Now, being 2020, we're really starting to get into this new plating style, which I like to call more of an abstract. It's a lot of components that still have a good flavor that complement each other, but their designs are kind of going all over the place and a little bit crazier, okay? So try a couple of different things, go above and beyond, go outside of the box with your plating.